How would you like a 15% discount to my daily email, the stack of stuff, the show notes, discounts to the conference, all of that? All you need to do is text the word show to 33777. You'll get the annual subscription with a 15% discount to my daily email. You'll get the stack of stuff, the links to the show notes, discounts to the conference, and so much more. All you have to do is text the word show, SHOW, to 33777. Text show to 33777.
Welcome to the Eric Erickson Show podcast, Hour 2.
Hello, America. Welcome. It is Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. I gotta bring you something for you Floridians out there. The low for me here tonight, overnight, is going to be 29, then down to 20, then down to 18. We were expected to get some snow and ice here in Middle Georgia. We're not now. You know who's expected to get snow? You have any idea? The National Weather Service modeling now projects Tampa Bay and Orlando could get light snow or flurries all the way to Fort Myers. Now, I'm not actually making that up. My buddy Ryan is a meteorologist. He's got the high-resolution modeling. He says, quote, high-resolution modeling more encouraging for snow squalls well south into the Florida Peninsula, including Tampa Bay, Orlando, and perhaps light snow or flurries all the way to Fort Myers. Gusty winds and dangerous wind chill with potential blowing snow all the way down into the Florida Peninsula. I need just a timeout for a minute. To my Jewish friends, I forgot to mention the other day, Holocaust Remembrance Day. You guys have been piled upon massive anti-Semitic attacks, denials of what happened on October 7th, the rise of anti-Semitism in the United States, even on the right, the Tucker Carlsons and the Candace Owens of the world, people trying to blame Jews for everything in this country and all the problems of the world. Everything has become a Jewish plot. It's horrific to watch the spread of anti-Semitism. It is horrific to watch people rot their brains on anti-Semitism. It is horrific to watch people excuse what happened on October 7th and pretend it didn't happen, to lie and claim Israel committed a genocide in Gaza. All of those things are horrible. And I want you to know I love you, and I am with you, and I stand in solidarity with you against the rise of anti-Semitism. Now that I've said that, y'all think you could rearrange the weather to bring me some warmth, please? If my Jewish friends could redirect your space lasers to where I live and warm it up a little bit, I would really appreciate it. Please, pretty please. I'm hoping for once Marjorie Taylor Greene is right about y'all space lasers, and you could just send some warmth my way if you're capable of it. Apparently, you guys have sent it all to South Florida, and even now, God is taking away for this. This snow in the middle of Florida is just wild. I was chatting with Ron DeSantis last night. My dad's Swedish and grew up in Coral Gables, and his family would come visit them from Sweden, he said. At least one time they came, and it was the middle of winter, and it was like in the 50s in Coral Gables, and they're all bundled up in jackets, and his family gets off the plane from Sweden and decides to go to the beach because it was warm to them. Just wild to me. But, by the way, the governor did say if it gets down to freezing temperatures in South Florida, fatal impact on Burmese pythons, which would be fantastic. Killing the pythons, letting Mother Nature kill the pythons, since they're so hard to find, would be fantastic. Now, I got to pivot. It's an open line Friday, 877-973-7425. Text Eric to 33777. Get all the links. Follow me on Instagram. You should follow me on Instagram. However, we got to talk about the situation in Iran because things are changing there rapidly. I mentioned yesterday the Iranians attempted an attack on American positions at Incirlik Air Base in Turkey and in southern Cyprus, where we have intelligence operations. We now have a massive buildup in the Middle East, and there are a lot of open source intelligence guys. Let me explain open source intelligence to you. People like to make this big idea of open source intelligence, and it is some cutting edge way that people are finding classified intelligence, and they're putting it all out online, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But actually, all it is people who troll the internet, Reddit threads and the stuff looking for information and trying to find this stuff. The president was asked a short time ago about the situation with Iran. This is his quote.
Sending actually a larger number of ships to Iran, and hopefully we'll make a deal. If we do make a deal, that's good. If we don't make a deal, we'll see what happens.
That was the president. We're having a buildup there. The Vladimir Putin has now received the Iranian Supreme National Security Council Secretary Ali Larijani, who is visiting Russia, flew out yesterday. The president says we have an armada headed to Iran right now that's larger than what we had in Venezuela. We're going to see how this turns out. We know that a massive number of the American Air Force fleet has now flown to the Middle East. B-2 bombers were recorded leaving the United States yesterday, along with mid-air refuelers launching from Guam to coincide with the B-2 bombers. They appear to be headed to positions in Diego Garcia. Clearly, we want people to know we're sending the B-2 bombers. We have ways of launching the B-2 bombers and turning off transponders so we don't know where they're going. We've wanted people to know this. When we bombed Iran the first time and took out their nuclear capabilities, the transponders were turned off and they were there, bombs dropped in back before people knew they had even left their Air Force bases. Something appears to be happening. Now, we don't know. It is one of two things. One, it is a show of force trying to persuade the Iranians to negotiate, or two, we're about to bomb them to kingdom come. There are problems, and some of you know these. I've mentioned them before. The way people work on radio, I want to repeat myself here so that everybody understands. You can't cut off the head in Iran. That's the problem for regime change in Iran. In Iraq, you could kill Saddam Hussein and collapse the regime to a degree. In Venezuela, you could take out Maduro, and other people there might come under pressure to change. Iran is a different animal because since 1979, the Ayatollah and the mullahs have spread the wealth around to a large number of people. So you've got thousands of people in Iran who actually are supporting and enabling and empowering the regime. And then you have a couple million people who fully support the regime. Now, it's a minority. You do need to understand this. I mentioned this yesterday. Talked to a friend of mine last night who's an expert on Iran who reiterated I'm right on this. I'm not telling you I'm right, just tell you I'm right. I'm telling you I'm right just so when you doubt me on this, you understand that I am talking to people who are experts in the field here. And there are probably 1 million to 3 million people in Iran who fundamentally support the regime. Now, Iran has a population much higher than that. Most of the people in Iran do not support the regime. The problem is of those 1 to 3 million people who support the regime, those are the ones Iran takes care of. Those are the ones who are systemically capable of killing the people who don't support the regime. They're the ones who are armed. They're the ones who are embedded in the secret police. They're the ones who are the spies for the regime, who can undermine. Some of them keep quiet about their support of the regime. So it's a destabilizing issue within Iran, these 1 to 3 million people. Yesterday I said 1.5 to 2 million. It's 1 to 3 million people. But there are more than 10 million people who don't support the regime, who are essentially held hostage by the regime. So why can't they overthrow the regime? Well, because all of the levers of power and police are controlled by the 3 million. It's the 3 million who are armed, the 10 million who are unarmed. In the protests last week, the reason the body count is so high is because the regime supporters simply sprayed bullets into the crowd indiscriminately. They weren't targeting individuals. They were just spraying bullets into the crowd, maximizing the body count. 300,000 people are estimated to have been casualties. That's not killed, that's casualties. The killing, though, is estimated now at 35 to 40,000 people. The number keeps going up. And of many of those who were wounded, they've gone into hospitals and they've been arrested. The people with the bullet holes have been arrested, and many of them probably will be executed. It's a very, very complex situation. It would be nice to think we could drop a few bombs, cut off the head of the snake, and be done with it, but that's actually not possible with Iran. Iran also has spies around the world. I mean, we look the Obama and the Biden administration, it was pretty well known, were compromised by Iranian spies. It's not making that up. I mean, it's pretty well documented that within the Obama administration and the Biden administration, they hired people from outside think tanks, many of whom had very close ties to the Iranian regime, some of whom at the upper levels of the Pentagon had way too comfortable ties to the Iranian regime that they appeared to be compromised, but they doubled down on the issue. The administration of Joe Biden refused to acknowledge these people were compromised. And in part, Biden did it and was willing to have the compromise because Biden wanted to destabilize American regime change policy against Iran. The Biden administration was culpable in allowing the Iranian regime to fester. Something you got to understand and recognize. I don't know what the president's plans are. I wish I knew, but if I did know, I couldn't tell you. What I do know is that we have increased our naval capacity in the Persian Gulf and the Arabian Sea, the Sea of Oman. We know that the Russians and the Chinese have reinforced Iranian military assets in the past 3 weeks. There have been ongoing cargo flights from Beijing and from Moscow, although not as much from Moscow because, of course, they've got their Ukrainian war effort. We know that in the past 24 hours, there are B-2 bombers that have left. We know that a number of American military fighters have taken off from European air bases headed to the Middle East. It looks like something could happen this weekend. I don't know that anything will happen. And I don't know that it will be enough to destabilize the regime. I do know it could probably exacerbate tensions in the Middle East. The Saudis are asking us to be careful in how we take out Iran. And also, I should say, Qatar tried to get us and Iran to calm down. Qatar tried to mediate. Qatar is not our friend, and you need to understand the Qataris are not a friend of the United States. They've been throwing money at the president. They've been throwing money at the right and the left. They've been funding podcasters and others to try to tone their image down. The Qataris are Iranian allies, and they are using their money to try to buy influence in Washington, D.C. They have tried to settle down the Americans and try to tone the president down in his rhetoric against Iran because they're allies of Iran. They should not be trusted. They cannot be trusted. And frankly, we should have regime change in Qatar, and that's not going to happen, but we should. The Saudis, the Bahrainians, the Omanis, the Emiratis, the Egyptians, none of them trust the Qataris at this point. Qatar has provided a safe haven to Taliban members and to terrorists. They're not good people. The regime there, at least. In the meantime, something is coming. None of us know what. There's too much of a military buildup for there not to be something coming. The president wants regime change now in Iran. I can tell you, I do know it has been publicly reported and confirmed by the Trump administration that they have prepared a kill list inside Iran of members of the regime they want dead who they believe participated in the massacres. Maybe we're going to target those people. There is, interestingly enough, something that we're not talking about. It's kind of like the dog that didn't bark. Remember the Sherlock Holmes story? Well, I forget which one it was, but essentially the dog didn't bark and Holmes realized it was because the dog recognized the person. There's the dog that hasn't barked in the Middle East. Israel. What level of coordination are we having with Israel? We know the Israelis are well sourced and embedded within the Iranian regime. The Israelis have a lot of great capabilities there, but not enough capabilities. What is Israel telling us? Remember, 2 weeks ago, Israel asked us to back down. Israel asked us to call off the dogs 2 weeks ago. The president was prepared to strike. They said, whoa, slow down. It's been very interesting that for 2 weeks we haven't really heard a lot out of Israel. I suspect it's because the Trump administration has heard a great deal from Israel, And the Israelis are probably helping us put a plan in place to deal a devastating blow to Iran. The question is it enough to do regime change? I have my doubts, but I think we ought to try. Welcome, it's Eric Erickson here. The phone number, 877-973-7425. Open line Friday. Gary in Tulsa, Oklahoma, you're up first. Welcome.
Thank you.
What's going on, Gary?
Am I on? I just wanted to let you know I believe fully about the way you feel about Don Lemon. I think he's a jerk. I think he's worse than that, but I won't say it on your show.
Yeah, don't say it on radio.
I know better. I also just wanted to thank you for your integrity and your character. I listen to your show often when I can, and I appreciate your views on the politics and Iran and all that. And also, I want to thank you on a lighter note. 3 or 4 weeks ago, you told the joke that your son told you about what's easier to pick up when it gets heavier.
Yep.
I know. It was that good. And for 2 reasons, I'm grateful you told it, because it was a good joke, and I enjoy good humor. And we have to keep the radios, the waves open. If we've become so afraid we can't say,
oh my gosh, people are so scared these days. Listen, Gary, I appreciate it a ton, and I hope you stay warm out in Tulsa, and thank you for the kind words. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat the joke right now. Maybe I will in a little while. Now, I told my kid one the other day. I actually sent it to him in a text, and he got home. He's like, Dad, I have no idea what you were talking about. I said, did you read my text? He said, yep, made no sense. I said, allow me to read it to you again, son. And then I read it to him instead of him reading it, and he fell out laughing. He says, okay, that's a good one. I may have to stick around for that one. All right, let me tell you about the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. Came in handy the other day on my back porch. So the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, it's a small, you can hold it in your hand. It is a small air purifier. And so it gets rid of dust and pollen. It gets rid of pet dander, but it's actually an odor eliminator. It generates ozone, which is kind of like odor bleach. Gets to the source of odors and wipes them out. You can get 3 of them and save $200 at EdenPureDeals.com. Use the discount code ERIC3, ERICK3, EdenPureDeals.com. So I don't really have an outdoor kitchen. I would love to have one, but I've got my smoker and my grill on the back porch, like back patio area, and the window is cracked on our back porch. It's glassed in. And I was using my smoker overnight for a Boston butt, and our back porch just reeked of the smoker. My wife was not happy with me. I didn't realize the window was cracked. I got the Eden Pure Thunderstorm, put it on the back porch, let it run for just an hour or so, and the thing is small, and plugged it into the wall, completely wiped out the pulled pork odor, the Boston butt, the smoker. They really work. You can get 3 of them for less than, or save $200 on them. You can even, if they don't work for you, you get a refund. Check out the details at EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is ERIC3, ERICK3 at EdenPureDeals.com. You get 3 of them, you save $200. They pack a wallop, they work. EdenPureDeals.com. Sad news to report. Catherine O'Hara has died at age 71. She was the mom to Kevin McAllister in Home Alone, also on Schitt's Creek and Best in Show. Died Friday. Cause of death not yet known. Her most famous, she's also in Beetlejuice and the sequel to Beetlejuice and A Mighty Wind. But her most famous role, I would say, is Macaulay Culkin's mom in Home Alone. Sad news. Also makes me feel very old. Okay, we got other stuff we got to talk about. But you need to understand the Democrats' plan to deal with ICE. Credit where credit is due. This is from Jenny Terre. Jenny Terre is with the Real Daily Wire. She's the immigration reporter. Has been with Fox and Newsmax, News Nation, or at least seen on those with Real Daily Wire. I gotta read to you her tweet. So again, Jenny Terre from Daily Wire. I spoke with 3 ICE sources today about one of the top ways Democrats are looking to cut off funding, a new requirement that would force federal agents to obtain judicial warrants rather than the current standard administrative warrants for immigration arrests. As one agency source put it, it basically provides amnesty to millions. It's telling people that you can reside safely in the United States as long as you stay out of trouble. It will remove immigration officials from the streets. Federal courts would be slammed with cases if we have a repeat of the Biden administration and you have to charge millions with illegal entry. Another source said if Democrats are successful, there would be no more immigration arrests. It's the functional equivalent of getting a warrant before issuing a speeding ticket. A third source added that the problem is the judicial discretion on the part of federal judges. Yes, looking in New York right now, Luigi Mangioni's case, the Biden-appointed judge there, federal judge, has taken the death penalty off the table. Biden-appointed judges really all need to be rounded up and impeached by Congress at the first available opportunity, although the votes aren't there to oust them. But Biden judges are hyper-progressive. The Democrats insist that they will fund all of the government other than the Department of Homeland Security appropriations. And they want compromise on the Department of Security appropriations. The Republicans on Capitol Hill are trying to compromise with them, and now Lindsey Graham is causing a snag, which is kind of funny. This is from Politico, hit the wires a little while ago. A partial shutdown of multiple federal agencies is just 16 hours away as the Senate deals with the Lindsey Graham snag, and House Republicans face pressure from Donald Trump to expedite what the Senate sends their way. This is, again, Politico. It sure seems the Senate was ready to vote Thursday night after Donald Trump and the Democrats struck a compromise, the enactment of 5 of the full-year appropriations bills and a 2-week Homeland Security stopgap to buy time for both sides to negotiate guardrails. Then Lindsey Graham made his move. He refused to go along with the plan over a House-backed provision that would repeal a law allowing senators to receive cash payouts if they had phone records seized by former special counsel Jack Smith. The Senate could move ahead as soon as Friday, though there are currently no votes on the schedule as leadership works to resolve holdups. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said there were issues coming from members of both parties, though Graham appears to be the problem. Hopefully by sometime tomorrow, we'll be in a better spot. So what is this? By the way, Graham is in the wrong here. Just so you understand, Lindsey Graham actually is in the wrong here. Here's the deal. If you will recall, Jack Smith received the surveillance of a number of members of Congress' cell phones. Lindsey Graham was one of them. During the last continuing resolution fight, and I think the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, at the very last moment, unknown to everyone, someone in the Senate sneaked a provision into the final package that said senators, not members of the House, but senators who had their phone records tapped by Jack Smith could sue for something like $500,000. It went back to the House passed it, and, well, guess what? Nobody knew it was there until after they rushed it through, sight unseen. The Senate said there were no real changes. The House took them at their word. Then after it was passed, people found this change. So now what the House is doing is the House put in a provision saying that measure is repealed. The House got played, and the Speaker was furious. Everybody else was furious. The House got played. So the House had its revenge by stripping the provision. Members of the Senate who were affected by it, they were all shamed and said, no, we didn't want this either. The only one who did was Lindsey Graham. So now Lindsey Graham is threatening to shut down the entire appropriations process so that he can preserve his right to sue Jack Smith and get $500,000. Lindsey Graham is the one who's now threatening to shut down the Department of Homeland Security for himself. That's outrageous. The Democrats, however, want a plan, and their plan would be bad. I read the Daily Signal report for you. Here's the bigger problem. They want reforms to Homeland Security that would prohibit any deportations. Essentially, the Democrats have decided they're going to shut down the government unless they get amnesty. The Republicans of the Senate can't abide by this. What they want to do is pass 5 of the 6 remaining appropriations measures. The 6th one is Homeland Security, and then they want 2 weeks to negotiate over Homeland Security and try to find a way to accommodate some of the Democratic concerns, just not this. We'll see if the Democrats came. Now, you should know that progressive groups are already attacking Chuck Schumer for even compromising. Progressive groups want a government shutdown right now. Progressive groups want the federal government completely shut down right now. And Democrats in the Senate are saying this is a non-starter because ICE and Homeland Security, ICE and Border Patrol are funded through the end of 2028. If they shut down the government right now, the only thing getting shut down is the TSA and the Coast Guard and FEMA, not ICE and Border Patrol. So the Democrats are willing to engage in some level of reform compromise, and Republicans are too, because even some of the Republicans have qualms with what's happened with DHS. As I mentioned earlier, they rounded up a bunch of people who they didn't have deportation orders on and haven't gotten deportation orders on. So some of the Republicans recognize that they need to engage in reform. However, the problem is the Democrats want more than that. The Democrats actually want to try to do a backdoor amnesty. And that is not going to work. And Republicans are saying no deal. So we'll get everything else funded if Lindsey Graham will give up his quest to sue Jack Smith. And then we can negotiate over Homeland Security. It's good, by the way, negotiating strategy by the president. The president deserves a lot of credit here. I don't know that he'll get it, but he deserves the credit for it. Now, let me go back to the phones. It's an open line Friday, 877-973-7425. Spencer, you're going to be up next on the Eric Erickson Show. Welcome.
Hey, Eric. Happy Friday to you. Nice to talk to you again.
You too. What's going on?
So, well, I heard the other day, and I know this had been mentioned already, but they were talking again about how Amazon is planning to lay off 16,000 white-collar jobs. And I was thinking, when you see companies like the size of people like Amazon in the private sector, it doesn't seem like they're trying to ease into this, AI world. It seems like companies like Amazon can't wait to get rid of as many people as they can to just increase their profit margins. And I don't know if you saw this or not, but I watched a few months back the hearing with Josh Hawley and Sean O'Brien from the Teamsters Union talking about Amazon. And during that, Josh Hawley puts up the profit margins for Amazon and how much they just increased from 2023 to 2024. And this is before all these layoffs. So at a certain point, when it looks like they're just chasing numbers, do you think that companies like Amazon and companies of that size that are doing this, that factors into the impact that so many young people have of such a negative view of capitalism now, that drives more of them into the arms of people like Crazy Bernie and Mondami?
Yeah, look, I think that there are a lot of factors for kids feeling like capitalism has failed. There's a lot of indoctrination out there, a lot of rhetoric out there. To some degree, this plays into it. But I do think the bigger issue for young people, and I try to get friends of mine to understand this, is that there are a lot of young people who feel like that they just can't get a leg up right now. And AI, I think, is going to push a lot of them as they struggle to find jobs, probably push more of them towards socialism. Part of it is young people have really bad expectations of what to expect when they get out of high school and college. And they don't hit the mark that they set for themselves, and they blame the system, they blame capitalism. Some of it is that you've got companies now replacing people with robots. A lot of it is, though, there has been a concerted effort within the academy, within high school, public high schools and colleges, to indoctrinate kids against capitalism. Capitalism has elevated more people out of poverty than any other system. And we derisively call it capitalism to a degree, which is how Karl Marx wanted it remembered, as opposed to a free market of arm's length transactions between individuals. State control does a bad job. Think about it this way. The entire budget for the state of Florida, which is a pretty free market place, is less than the budget for the public schools of New York City. Now, I didn't know that was true, but I saw that conversation on Twitter this morning, and sure enough, the budget for the whole state of Florida, those of you down in Florida listing in Gainesville or Pensacola or Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, Vero Beach, you name it, Jacksonville, all of you, think about this for your state. Your state budget is no greater than the budget for public schools in New York City. And New York public schools have a poorer turnout, poorer grades, and poorer outcomes than the schools in Florida. But in New York, they spend a ridiculous amount of time teaching the students in those schools how bad the free market is and how the government needs to control things. In Florida, where your entire state budget is about equal to the school budget in New York, the schools spend way less time blaming capitalism, and the students get better outcomes, and you're far less likely to get socialist students. But outcomes do play a part in it. And frankly, I think private equity is also part of the problem here. And private equity, the way I grew up learning free enterprise and capitalism, you produce a good or a service, you sell it, you make a profit, profit's good. A lot of private equity companies, they're just in it for the money. They're not in it for the good or service. They degrade the good and the service. They devalue the company's products. They load them up with debt because private equity is about making money. It's not about actually making a good or a service. And I think that as well has undermined it. I think a lot of these major corporations and private equity firms are undermining their own existence by turning people towards socialism based on how they operate their companies. They're multifaceted. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest problem is just the relentless indoctrination in colleges and high schools in this country against capitalism. I think that indoctrination matters greatly. I think it is destructive to the country, corrosive. I think there are many, many groups out there that are pushing bad economic policies. And frankly, it doesn't help our side when the president is forcing government ownership of companies and forcing government control of companies and taking interest in companies. That's socialism. The president of the United States, Donald Trump, is engaged in socialist policies, and none of you who like him are willing to call him out on that because you think the other side is worse, but he's ceding ground to and setting precedent for the other side to come in and double down on it. You either support arm's length transactions between people or you support government involvement in the economy. Government involvement in the economy always runs down economies. Every time it's tried, the greater the government role of the economy, the worse off the economy is for people. And Trump is now embracing that philosophy, and it's actually a bad philosophy. When we come back at the top of the hour, we're going to talk about the new Kevin Walsh is the Fed Reserve chairman. Never would have expected it given his background and Trump's views, but he should be good. But when the government keeps imposing tariffs and trying to be command and control, we on our side undermine our case for free markets and make socialism more possible. And frankly, that's what the president's economic policies are doing right now. And that's why I have a real problem with it, because he's making the argument for the other side to do even more. Greetings, welcome. Eric Erickson here, 877-973-7425. It is an open line Friday. So the National Football League has appointed Dar Mann as its first ever Chief Kindness Officer and Creator of the Week for Super Bowl 60. Interestingly enough, their kindness czar was charged with 13 felony counts of fraud for allegedly defrauding a city beautification program while operating his real estate company, Managed Properties, in 2008 and 2009. Prosecutors reduced the charges to 5 felony counts in August of 2013. And later that year, Mann pled no contest to the 5 counts. He was sentenced to 5 years of probation in order to pay a $10,000 fine and restitution. Mann told the New York Times in 2021 the conviction was later expunged That is who the National Football League has decided to hire as a kindness czar. Really. Kindness jar. In 2010, he and a stockbroker founded WeGrow and sold hydroponics for growing medical marijuana. Okay. Why does the NFL need a kindness czar? I have no idea. You know, people just want to watch football games. They don't want to be dragged into politics, and the NFL has done a better job of late than a lot of other entities like the NBA. But the leadership at the National Football League is just relentlessly and annoyingly progressive on this stuff. And here we have this guy who was charged with fraud is now the kindness czar and is the storyteller, some creator of the week. Just why? Can we not just watch the football game, please? Can we not just watch the football game? I don't care about Bad Bunny. He's actually very popular with the kids these days. It's not my demo. I couldn't care less. I know it's going to get political. I don't watch the halftime show anyway. I just want to watch the football game. But this sort of stuff is just nonsense. Just nonsense. There's a story in the Wall Street Journal about Apple's call screening now. It's harder for robocallers to get you if you have an iPhone now. But they still can call, and Incogni can help reduce those calls and get your information off the internet and get your number taken down. You go to incogni.com/Eric. Incogni is spelled INCOGNI. Incogni, INCOGNI/Eric, ERICK. You get 60% off, and they work behind the scenes sending demand letters to data brokers on the internet demanding they take your private information down. They can help you reduce spam callers by getting your phone number off websites. They can help reduce the ability of insurance companies to look you up and change your rates based on data online. They can help you avoid scammers. They can just help make you a little more anonymous online. You'd be stunned at how much your public information is out there, or your private information is now public, and Incogni works to get it taken down. That's why I use them. Incogni.com/Eric. And again, INCOGNI, Incogni.com/Eric. They can get your information off the internet and help you be a little more private, and you can get 60% off. Incogni.com/Eric.